Welcome to the Explainer. So have you ever wondered if there's an actual definitive map to the entire universe? Like a literal blueprint showing exactly where we fit into the grand scheme of things? Well, today we're unpacking a truly mind-bending esoteric framework, Xuefeng's 16-tier hierarchy of life, which was formulated back in 2005. The source text we're looking at lays out this massive, intricate cosmological map of spirituality. It literally categorizes everything, from tiny microorganisms and wild animals all the way up to undercover celestial beings and the ultimate creator. And the whole system is based entirely on a being's non-material structure and spiritual energy. It's a wildly detailed puzzle, and we're going to break it all down visually so you can see exactly how this universe is supposedly built.
Okay, here's our agenda for today. We'll be looking at 1. The human anchor point, 2. Nature and lower realms, 3. The celestial ladder, 4. Gods and the Creator, and finally, 5. The path of advancement.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the human anchor point, level 5 of 16. To really get our bearings in this explainer, we have to start right in the middle of this 16-tier structure. That's level 5, us, humans. According to this map, we are life forms that are strictly bound by our physical senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and we're fundamentally tethered to the earth by our physical need for food. We don't have any supernatural abilities. But here is where it gets super interesting. The author precisely divides humanity into 5 distinct types, and it's based entirely on your past incarnations. Basically, your core driving force right now is dictated by your cosmic history. So, the ignorant rely on pure instinct because they evolved from trees or lower animals. The laity are driven by desire, having previously been higher animals or birds. Mortals run on sentiment and emotion. Moving up the ladder, sages rely on rationality. They carry that over from previous sage or celestial existences. And finally, celestials who happen to be in human form rely purely on spirituality.
But hold on, because the text throws a massive curveball here. There is an exception to the rule. 1 in every 10 million people walking around in human society right now, they aren't actually human at all. They are undercover. We're talking about celestial beings, Buddhas from the Elysium world, or gods from heaven carrying out special, top-secret cosmic missions. Think about that for a second. Statistically speaking, someone you pass by on the street could actually be a high-level deity, quietly operating among us, totally unnoticed.
Moving right along to Section 2, nature and lower realms, levels 6 through 16.
So, let's take a quick ride down the cosmic elevator. As freedom and living standards decrease, we descend through this incredibly specific taxonomy. Right below us humans at level 6, you've got flying birds, with the majestic red-crowned crane sitting at the very top of that tier. Drop down to level 7 and you're looking at flowering plants. Levels 8 and 9 group together livestock and wildlife, followed by trees, insects, and herbs, where glossy Ganoderma herbs are actually ranked the highest. Keep going down past the microorganisms and the plunge gets genuinely extreme. We drop past demons in hell at level 14 through a terrifying frozen layer all the way down to the absolute rock bottom, the inflamed layer.
Now, the author makes this genuinely wild, unconventional analogy when talking about animals at levels 8 and 9. The text compares wild animals to, and this is a quote, illiterate people who only know how to take and obtain from the world. But livestock? Because domestic animals serve humanity directly, they're actually ranked higher. They are likened to disciplined high school or university students trained by civilization. It's this idea that their entire existence revolves around dedication rather than just pure acquisition.
Okay, this next part is honestly one of the most poetic details in the whole framework. Look at level 7, flowering plants. Things like peonies, lotuses, orchids. The text says they aren't just natural decorations for us to look at. They are almost direct physical imitations of plant life from the higher realms. They act as literal spiritual alarm clocks. Their main function is to remind those high-level humans, the sages and celestials we talked about earlier, not to get too comfortable here on Earth. They are blooming reminders to keep advancing toward the higher deity worlds.
All right, shifting gears to Section 3, the celestial ladder, levels 4 and 3.
As we look up past the physical world, we hit level 4, which is the realm of devils. And the rules of physics just entirely break down here. In this cosmology, devils aren't your traditional pitchfork-carrying ultimate evil. No, they're actually a brief, extreme incarnation of Buddhas who are undergoing a process of self-refinement. And what's absolutely wild is that their power is actually greater than normal Buddhas. They reach the level of gods. Because they are so unbelievably powerful, the greatest creator has to personally step in and restrain them in a cosmic prison known as the cathode black hole. Once beings level up into level 3, it's like they unlock these incredible cheat codes for reality. First, you have human celestials in the 1,000-year world who completely lose their fear of death. Step up from that, and land celestials in the 10,000-year world gain the ability to walk on water and fly over trees. Up another rank, deity celestials can travel billions of miles literally in the blink of an eye, living completely unconstrained by space. And finally, the ultimate rank in this tier is the super celestial in the Elysium world. They can sense subtle universal changes and can take thousands of incarnations simultaneously across totally different spaces.
Interestingly enough, the text claims that Buddhas and Celestials actually share this exact same third tier. They're on the same level of life, separated only by what the author surprisingly terms racial differences. Buddhas are further divided into 10 distinct categories based on which mystical continent they inhabit. The Supreme Authentic Wisdom continent is the absolute highest, while the Lotus continent is the entry-level bottom. If a human on Earth actually manages to attain their true original nature, the text says their physical body passes away, and their spiritual life instantly arrives right there at the Lotus continent.
Let's move on to Section 4. Gods and the Creator, the apex of existence.
So this brings us to the absolute summit, the realm of total cosmic authority, levels 2 and 1. The framework draws a really sharp, specific distinction here between gods with a lowercase g at level 2 and the greatest creator at level 1. Now, gods possess immense psychic energy, for sure, but their non-material structure is ultimately considered defective. They have a hard boundary. They cannot enter what is called the zero world, and they absolutely cannot compete with the creator. The greatest creator, on the other hand, possesses absolute perfection. Its energy effortlessly penetrates all materials and spaces without any hindrance whatsoever. It is the undisputed apex of everything.
So, having mapped this entire 16-level structure, from the terrifying inflamed layer at level 16, all the way up to the absolute perfection of the greatest creator at level 1, we really have to ask the critical question. How and why do beings move through this incredibly rigid system? I mean, what is the overarching point of existing on this cosmic ladder in the first place?
That brings us to our final section, Section 5, the path of advancement, moving through the layers.
To answer that big why question, we arrive at the core mechanics of spiritual upward mobility. Because according to this text, this isn't just a static map. It's a ladder, and you are meant to climb it. The fundamental rule states quite logically that no being naturally wants to move down the hierarchy, right? Birds don't want to become flowers, humans don't want to become birds, and celestials sure don't want to become humans again. The universal, undeniable drive of all life is to aim toward a higher space, a higher level of freedom, and a fundamentally better quality of existence.
And it's a very deliberate climb. The author explicitly maps out this upward path for humanity. Everyday mortals shed pure sentiment to become highly rational sages. Then, those sages set their sights on becoming human celestials in the 1,000-year world. From there, they aim for the 10,000-year world as land celestials, pushing further and further upward to deity celestials until finally striving to become super celestials in the Elysium world. It is a long, continuous journey of spiritual upgrading.
But here is the crucial takeaway. While the climb is vast, there is a hard ceiling for us. The text makes it incredibly clear the Elysium world represents the absolute top for human advancement in this framework. It states point blank that it is literally impossible for human beings to ever become level 2 gods, and it is absolutely out of the question to ever become the level 1 greatest creator. We have our designated lane, and we can only climb as high as level 3.
Xuefeng's model tells us that whether we rely on instinct, desire, or rationality right now is a direct result of our past incarnations. So, take a look at your life today. Based on this highly specific cosmic map, what spiritual tier are your current actions propelling you toward next? Are you headed for the 1,000-year world, or are you quietly slipping backward? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the map of your own reality, and I'll catch you next time.